Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fortress Comic News, episode 284. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside my co-host, Mike.
What's going on, everybody? Not a whole lot. We got an interview today with Mr. Peter Breu from Second Sight Publishing. So, looking forward to that today.
Yeah, and good stuff.
Yeah, happy to be back in the States. I did not catch up on a lot of shows, but I did read a lot of comics. I was in Mexico all week, so a little more eventful than my normal work trips go. And I won't dwell on these stories too long here, but I have a newfound respect for all of the individuals who are like running away from Godzilla as he's like destroying buildings and shit like that. Because I got stuck in a couple earthquakes in Mexico.
Wow.
And with my luck, they weren't just aftershocks, because the first earthquake hit and then everybody's like, oh well, a second one won't hit, it's all aftershocks. No, a second one did hit. So the first one hit when I literally had a 1 hour layover. I landed in Mexico City, had to transfer to a plane to Guadalajara, and Mexico City airport's a shit show because you have to like leave the airport and then get back through the airport to go through connecting flights, which is like crazy because I'm American, so I have to go through like TSA or the customs check twice. So I'm like rushing, and I'm trying to like scan my passport on the like the reader, and it starts like wobbling. And I'm like, I had been up since like 3 a.m. traveling. I hadn't eaten anything in like 8 hours, and I'm like, man, I'm fucking dizzy. Like, what is going on? I'm like, why is this thing fucking wobbling? Like, and why is this guy not helping me? And then he grabs me and like pulls me to the wall, and I realize everybody's lined up against the wall and the building's shaking. And I'm like, oh, this is a fuck. And I'm like, maybe it's a subway underneath us? No, it's a fucking earthquake. And everybody's screaming in Spanish and all this stuff. So a lot of things like swinging, like they had this huge model airplane like in the middle of the airport, so that thing was swinging back and forth. And of course, like a lot of the airport has a lot of glass everywhere, so some glass shattered and all this crazy shit. So that was kind of crazy. And half an hour goes by, and then I got on my plane like nothing ever happened. It's funny because there was like a joke with me and some of the sales people here at my work is like I never fly first class, and like the one time I got upgraded, I had to switch my flight, and then they're like, well, we can't give you up first class, so we switch your flight. I'm like, dude, that's fine. So this one time I had first class going like in between these flights in Mexico, and a fucking earthquake hits, and I'm like, this is it. I'm just cursed. I'll never get it. So fast forward to me being in Guadalajara for the week, and my colleague from Mexico is like, yeah, this should be fine, it's just aftershocks, blah blah blah. I go, okay. So I'm staying in a hotel in Guadalajara that has 20 floors, and I'm staying on the 16th floor. And the night before, I have to fly out of the city to Chicago, and then I stay in Chicago. I fly home, and 1 a.m. hits, and my room is shaking. And I'm like, holy fuck, it's an earthquake. And it was a pretty big one. And shaking. I'm like half asleep. I'm waking up. I'm like, fuck. And then the alarm starts blaring for the earthquake in the building. So like they had to evacuate the building at 1 a.m. I had to run down like 16 flights of stairs and then stand out in the street for like an hour. And then I had to go to bed, try to go back to sleep, and wake up the next day and go to do some work. And it was a second earthquake had hit off another side of the coast of Mexico. And I told my colleague, I'm not coming back to Mexico for a while. That was pretty traumatizing. But and he even was like, holy shit, I've never felt an earthquake like that. I'm like, great. I was glad we were staying on the 16th floor of a hotel made out of like entire glass to experience that. So long story short, I love Mexico. I love the people there and the food, but fuck earthquakes. And yeah, so the people that are running away from Godzilla as like, the earth is shaking and the buildings are quaking is a little more real for me now. So I still root for Godzilla though, hands down. Fuck it. Like
And of course, you brought back some Mexican Spider-Man comics as well, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Yep. In the midst of all that, I had time to do that. The mind-boggling part to me was like, as I'm running down the stairs at 1 a.m., trying not to trip, people are stopping to like take pictures of like cracks in the wall and shit, in like in the cement of the hotel. And I'm like, dude, if I get fucking caught in an earthquake and you're stopped to take pictures of the building like cracking, I'm gonna fucking run you over. The amount of
they
like,
probably got all the Instagram likes though.
oh yeah, like the casualness of it. Like, I'm like the fucking building is coming down. Like, what are you doing? Like, you never see that in the disaster movies though, right? You like, okay,
No.
the tsunami's hitting. You don't see someone standing there with their phone like filming, because you like to give people the benefit of the doubt. No, they're probably dumber than we like to make them out in the movies, so they would probably stop and take pictures.
I don't think people recognize what real like terror is, like that moment. Like I don't think it computes in their head. So like that kind of connects to something I was thinking about this week, because as people may know out there, like Puerto Rico got hit with these terrible hurricanes, and thoughts out to everybody out there. So awkward cut because of technical difficulties. But yeah, I was saying they had that storm down in Puerto Rico, the hurricane, and a bunch of the drivers that I work with are from Puerto Rico, and their families are from Puerto Rico. So I was talking to a few of them about it and everything, and just check in, see how their families are doing and all that. And it just brought me back that night when I came home, and I was after talking to them. I'm just like, when people ask me why I live in New York and how I deal with the winter, it's because I don't have to deal with hurricanes and fucking earthquakes.
Yeah, tornadoes, everything else. Like, when there's a snowstorm, I sit in my apartment, I play video games.
Yeah, like,
like that's what I do.
Okay, I have to shovel. Like, I'm
like
over
I
it.
shovel.
Like,
I shovel. It's not that dangerous. It's like you get buried under snow. Okay, But anyways, let's. I guess we'll just jump into it. For TV, I have not watched anything this week. Well, I watched. Okay, so I will say this: Rings of Power, super fucking boring this week. There was so many conversations. So like the cool part was like the beginning of the episode, they had like some fighting and stuff, some really good sword fighting, and then it was just a bunch of heavy dialogue between several characters, almost like 8 or 9 conversations in a row. And they really need to fix that, because like I know a lot of people were kind of like, that was a very low part. I mean, they're talking about a lot of lore and shit like that, but I need some more sword fighting, guys. Yeah, so Hot D, House of the Dragon, I got to catch up on. And then Rick and Morty's been out. That's been great. First 3 episodes are really, really fun and hilarious. And I know you've been watching She-Hulk and Andor, so you could probably talk about those.
Yes, I'll start with She-Hulk episode 6. As everyone knows, like, haven't really been enjoying the series. Probably my favorite episode, though.
Wow.
And it's a little shocking because it's like a wedding episode.
Oh, interesting.
So she gets invited to a wedding for like an old high school friend, and she has to be a bridesmaid. That whole thing, blah blah. Something you know a little bit about, Mike, being groomsman. What, like 8 times now?
No, not just a handful. God, I hope not.
No, we had a couple there a few years back, right?
Yeah, I did right in a row. Yeah.
And so there's that sequence. That's like the A story, and then like Titania shows up at the wedding and causes trouble and all that. And that was like fun because all the characters involved were real and they were interesting, and like the fight was kind of cool. And her She-Hulk's brother was like the DJ, and he was the incredible. What was it? The Incredible Bulk J or something like that. I forget.
Wow.
But it was like a really corny pun.
Yeah.
And then the B story was a character very near and dear to me. A Great Lakes Avenger by the name of Mr. Immortal.
Wow.
Is going through a divorce. But not just one divorce. He's going through like 8 divorces, because this version of Mr. Immortal, what they did with him is every time his marriage starts to get wonky, or like he's not comfortable anymore, instead of like going to the woman being like, hey, like this isn't working, we should split up, he just pretends to kill himself and then starts a new life.
Oh my god. That's funny.
So like both of those together were fun and they were interesting and all the characters were good. So I like this episode. It only took 6 episodes for me to get interested. Apparently, too, it's more than 6 episodes long. It's like 8 episodes long because no Daredevil in this episode.
That's how they get you.
Yeah. And then Star Wars Andor, I enjoyed. It's basically a 3-hour, like a 2.5-hour movie for the first 3 episodes.
Okay.
They're all like 45 minutes long-ish, and they all interconnect very purposely. Like they should have just been, here's one episode and it's a movie.
Yeah.
And it's all about who Andor is at this point prior to Rogue One, kind of his backstory and how he got to be where he was born, all this kind of stuff. And the fact that he's kind of a, for lack of a better term, like a street rat kind of screw up, and is always getting in trouble in some way, and owes people money and all this kind of stuff. And you get to the point where you learn like why he joins the rebellion and what went about. There's also, lore wise for Star Wars, a cool part is they got into some of the deep, like, and I mean this in the true like 100% dictionary definition of the word, fascism of the universe, where like the Empire actually owns these corporations that run these planets. And how those corporations have armies that patrol the planets and everything. And
that's pretty cool.
That's deeply tied into what's going on with the story. So I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite Star Wars thing, but I like the setup it gave, and it could lead to some cool like rebel spy stories moving into episode 4.
I do need to watch it for sure. And so with that, let's hop over to this interview with Mr. Peter Bro, and we'll see everybody on the other side.
And we're back
to the other side. And I have to say, I have to research some of those conspiracy theories he was talking about. Like the Nazi Bell one is crazy, like time travel and shit like that. Like I find that stuff interesting.
I knew the one about the wolves. I thought it was World War II, but I'm probably wrong. And I remember that like literally these soldiers would stop and then like join together to kill the wolves, and then go back to their separate sides and kill each other again.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, that is insane. All right, let's hop into the comic news here, everybody. DC has announced a new creative team taking over Harley Quinn beginning in March 2023. Tini Howard will take over as writer, while Sweeney Boo will take over as the artist for the series, following 2 years of Stephanie Phillips and various artists. So Stephanie, hopefully go into something that I'll start reading. No offense, I'm not a huge Harley Quinn fan. I know you're doing great stuff over there, but I will definitely read whatever book she puts out next. And no, Tini Howard's a great writer too, so not trying to poo-poo that. The 90s are
neither of us are Harley Quinn fans, so I think isn't New York's coming up, so I'll be looking for big announcements coming out of that.
Yeah, big New York Comic-Con announcements.
Yeah.
The 90s are back at DC Comics with the announcements.
Yay.
Like right. We all wanted it. The return of the Batman Spawn, Wildcats, 90s variant covers, and now another round of 90s era variant covers. In December, we'll see the return of Embossed Foil Covers coming. This is also the same month that Batman Spawn #1, Wildcats #1, and JSA #1 will launch. I do love foil covers. I don't love the embossed foil covers. DC's like, wow, we should just do it all 90s again. Why not?
Yeah, because it all ended real well for the comic industry.
Yeah, they went bankrupt.
If this is a one-time thing, just because I get it. Spawn, Batman, and Wildcats are coming out. If this is like, we'll do it once and never again, fine.
Yeah.
Please DC and Marvel, I'm begging both of you, do not go down this path again.
Do not do it. And just start printing off everything every time. Yeah, oh, there's a cat. Yeah, we don't need that. They were probably like, oh, everybody was excited about these variants. Let's do it. Let's do embossed foil covers. They're like, guys, there's still no place for an embossed foil cover. Foil covers, I do enjoy. But I don't know.
They're fine for special things. Like when I got my Walking Dead 100, I got the foil cover.
Right.
But like, if every issue of Walking Dead was foil cover, I wouldn't buy them, and
right.
B, it would saturate a market that leads to bad things.
Yep.
Don't do it.
Yep. And also the embossing just feels so weird to me. Yeah. Rick and Morty fans will finally get the answer to long asked questions about the opening theme of the cartoon. What's the deal with Cthulhu? Oni Lion Forge Publishing Group has announced a new Forge series by Jim Zub. What's up, Jim? And art by Troy Little called Rick and Morty vs. Cthulhu. Hell yeah. I'll be reading that. I love these miniseries that they do with like D&D and everything. I think they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, once I get caught up with like all my books, because I'm like I've been recently trying to catch up on all my Magic the Gathering books and a few other things.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I get some of these trades I got sitting around read. I want to jump into the Rick and Morty comics.
Yeah,
especially this sounds so much fun.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll be looking forward to it.
Dark Horse Comics has announced this week that starting June 2023, they'll be leaving Diamond Distribution for single issue distribution and instead sign with Penguin Random House, and yet another publisher leaving the longtime direct market distribution company for a competitor. Man, Penguin Random House must be like giving some sweet deals to these companies.
That or my conspiracy theory is so Dark Horse is doing the Star Wars All Ages books.
Mm-hmm.
And Marvel has a stake in Penguin Random House as they're distributing their stuff as well. My conspiracy theory is like, yeah, you can have the Star Wars All Ages stuff. Come over to Penguin, guys.
Yeah.
That's probably not what's happening, but like,
no.
I like to think about these things. It is interesting, though. Diamond is dying.
Yeah.
And there's a world where we no longer get a previews catalog, everybody.
Yeah, that's it's sad. Sad days. But not sad, the amount of comics I read this week, so I guess we'll start talking about that. I'm gonna just gloss over a couple because we're gonna talk about Vanish for sure. That was fucking awesome. And how it's a Harry Potter, a take on Harry Potter. It's not a bad thing.
I was waiting for you to talk to you about that.
Yeah. So this is Dark Crisis: Worlds Without Justice League Wonder Woman. That was a good issue. These are some of these you've already read. The newest Jurassic League was good. Finally wrapped up Swamp Thing. Very cool. I think we're gonna stick with seeing some new characters probably that probably will stick around maybe. Samurai Doggy #2. This Aftershock fun story about a samurai dog. So check it out. Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers #5. It leaves off like a mystery. Well, I mean, it's the end. It wraps up. Everybody wins and goes home. But then, someone is drifting in the multiverse. But the Rita Repulsa is drifting through the multiverse. So, and it shows like a bunch of different Godzillas. So maybe we'll get another tie-in, which would be sick.
Interesting.
Yeah. So hopefully Colin Bunn comes back for that because that was a lot of fun. I read Masquerade #1. It was cool, like you said. Trve Kvlt, #2. This is that Leanna Kangas drawn book, beautifully drawn. Interesting. We still haven't really gotten to like what the cult leaders are up to. Kind of slow paced. I don't know if I'm going to keep reading it. I love the art, but the writing might not be for me. There's a lot of conversations. So The Flash, the fastest man alive, #1, Kenny Porter, Ricardo Lopez Ortiz. I'm going to talk about this one a little more because Chris was like, Mike, you should read this first and let me know if you like it because it's the movie tie-in. I did like it. It actually is like a lot of Flash, and obviously, and Ben Affleck Batman, Batfleck. Like the Flash is taking on a villain. He's not doing so hot, and he has to learn how to like fight through Batman and like use his powers. Like, how is he going to learn how to fight? Like, he doesn't. There's a learning curve there. And then we see that Batman is the one who built the ring with the new Flash suit. So this whole issue is like him getting the new Flash suit and learning how to fight, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was like, how are they going to grip me? They got me. It was really good. So I'm going to read the rest of them. Batman the Knight, #9. Chip Zdarsky. This came out last week. I can't remember.
This week.
Yeah. So Batman's going to Roz. They finally find Roz, him and his friend that he's training with, and then he gets there and he wants to challenge Ra's al Ghul. And he does challenge Roz, and then him and his friend. Is it Ra's al Ghul that's fighting him or his friend? I can't tell from the art. No, it's him and his friend are fighting against each other. You kind of saw this coming, that even though they went to Ra's al Ghul together, the guy he was training with are going to probably end up fighting to the death or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
DCeased. War of the Undead Gods. This fucking book, man. Sinestro gets his head ripped off. So they do this big buildup of Sinestro's got to save his homeworld because it just immediately got wiped out. The Green Lanterns show up and Sinestro, why are you trying to destroy your planet? He's like, no, there's no saving it. And then Darkseid comes out and rips off his head and then gets the Yellow Lantern ring, which is fucking awesome. So I love this book.
Such a good last page reveal with the fucking Yellow Lantern ring on Darkseid. Has anyone done that before?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but and not only it's zombie Darkseid with the Yellow Lantern ring, zombie Supergirl, and then fucking Sinestro's head floating behind them.
So good.
Yeah,
such a good book.
Pretty metal. This is Ultraman, Mystery of the Ultraseven. So there's a lot of comic book science going on. Written by Kyle Higgins, Matt Groom, art by Davide Tinto. Really good art. They finally reveal that the person who's I would say the Amanda Waller of the universe. She's the head of the Ultraman, this CIA organization, is actually evil and an alien or something. So the Ultraman that was injured escapes with his friend. They get away, and the Ultraman that's fighting now is trapped. The Ultraman itself, the alien, and the new person who's taken up the mantle are trapped in each other's minds. So I don't know. There's a lot going on there. I do like the issues though. I'm enjoying what I'm reading because I do love kaijus. And then the last two to talk about for me are the World's Finest, Mark Waid. Love this fucking book. I love these single issues. I think they're these almost one-shot stories. I think Mark Waid's killing it, and Moore is doing the art. Dan Mora, is doing the art. I think these one-shot stories are really cool. This almost felt like an Ahoy comic, Wrong Earth situation, where we get this new multiverse hero showing up that's kind of like Superman, but his powers aren't entirely the same. I really liked it, and him joining the Teen Titans at the end and seeing the classic Teen Titans was pretty sick. I don't know if that's meaning we're going to get a Teen Titans spinoff with Mark Waid or some shit, but I like the issue a lot.
Yeah, I like the idea of this character coming from another dimension and him having similar powers and issues as Superman had.
Yeah.
And it's basically creating kind of a Robin for Superman.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Great issue. Yeah. I loved it.
Yep. Mark Waid is just killing it. And now, the one last book I have to talk about is Vanish #1. Donny Cates, Ryan Stigman. If I had to describe the book, it is what if Harry Potter happens on another plane of existence. Okay, so stay with me. Voldemort and Dumbledore die, obviously like the movie. But then the Death Eaters get away and travel to Earth, and they pose themselves in the Muggle world as superheroes.
Yeah, so my version of that was it's a dark 90s version of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Dark 90s Image Comics version of Harry Potter.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Stegman's art is amazing. The writing from Donnie is amazing as usual. The fucking reveal where the Harry Potter quote-unquote character shows up and you see the Voldemort quote-unquote, I'm making this relatable for everybody, and he's like, how are you going to stop me? He pulls out a gun and shoots him in the head. That was pretty fucking awesome.
I kept so radio silent on this book past the initial announcement, so I knew nothing coming in. I was like, Stegman, Cates, I'm in. Doesn't matter.
I had no idea. Yeah.
It could have been Stegman, Cates doing fucking Deadpool, and I was going to buy the first issue.
Yeah, I loved it.
I haven't been blown away by a first issue like this in a long time. I fucking love this book, yeah.
And the idea that, like, the hero has to pose as a villain to take down the, like, heroes on Earth that are actually, like, the evil wizards. I love that shit. So you know he's going to have a struggle of, like, convincing people that he's the good guy. I think it's awesome. There's a bunch of books I didn't get to, but I'll read those next week.
I can't wait to get into the lore of that world.
Yeah.
Avengers Forever number 9. It was Carol Danvers related. In this world, the Phoenix Force is worshipped like a god, and nobody in this world is allowed to fly. But the Carol Danvers for this world wants to fly, and she's basically held as like a slave until she's able to break free, and then meets up with the Multiverse Avengers. Decent issue, not my favorite of this one, but pretty good so far. Barbaric Axe to Grind number 2, which I know you didn't get to.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of backstory as to like who Owen is and what his ties to Alex is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also a lot of them killing orcs.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
So yeah, it's a barbaric book. I really enjoyed it. It was a little sad that I saw at the end of the book it says to be concluded in the next issue. So that means this volume's another 3-issue series.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I want more of this book. But
I know.
That's probably a good thing that I want more.
It makes it that's what makes it so good too, I think.
Public Domain issue 4, the Chip Zdarsky written and drawn book. It gets into kind of them creating the new comic company for them to create the comics for this old character, and also backstory of the one son and what he's gone through and everything. I really enjoy that book, but it's one of those books that's hard to talk about too much because every panel is kind of a spoiler. I really recommend it. Radiant Black number 18. This was the story of the yellow, whatever they are, Radiant, and probably my least favorite issue of the series so far.
Okay.
It tells it on like multiple timelines of his life, and it's a bit confusing through most of it until they tie it together. And it's also just I wasn't interested in like this guy's life.
Mm-hmm.
So, but still a good series. Just had an off issue. DC versus Vampires All Out War number 3 was a good issue. Really enjoyed it. Lots of vampire killing. Mech Strike Monster Hunters issue 4 was fun as well. Doom, shocking to everybody, Doom turns on his comrades and takes all their power away from them. So the next issue should be a lot of fun. We talked about Batman Superman. Stuff of Nightmares number 1. This is an R.L. Stine comic book.
Yeah, I wanted to read that.
I actually really enjoyed it. It had like a Tales from the Crypt kind of feel to it, where you started the book with this guy who was telling a tale.
Mm-hmm.
And the tale he was telling was about these scientists that were creating a Frankenstein-like monster. Okay. And what happens in that thing. If you're like a Tales from the Crypt horror fan, I think this book will be right up your alley. If you just like kind of fucked up horror, it's not really gory, it's not shocking, it's not violent, but just kind of fucked up. This will probably be the book for you, and I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Fantastic Four number 47. This was the David Pose Fantastic Four 2-issue arc, the first issue of that arc, which is supposed to be Die Hard at the Baxter Building, and it was basically the first half an hour of Die Hard, where like Sue goes and does her thing, and you get to see the Baxter Building, meet a bunch of people, and then the villain reveals themselves, and all hell breaks loose. It was really good, really well done. For anyone out there that's worried because it's a Axe Judgment tie-in book, literally all you need to know about the event going on is that people are being judged by the Celestials. So the reason it's a tie-in is because Reed decides he's going to put himself in this hyperbolic chamber to think of a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he's not available, and it's just Sue.
Oh.
Other than that, there's no tie-in to the actual event.
Perfect.
And then Batman One Bad Day, Two-Face #1. It was okay. It's just the problem with this was it tried to build up this big suspenseful thing where Two-Face was redeeming himself and Harvey was now taking control again. And he was going to celebrate his father's birthday and all this, but somebody was going to do something to his father at his birthday party. And the entire time you're like, it's fucking Two-Face.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did not hide it at all. They did a bad job at the suspense, and by the end I was like, we're supposed to feel bad for Batman because he's like, it's official, my friend is no longer my friend, when it's like, dude, like Two-Face isn't your friend anymore, like that guy's gone.
Yeah.
So 0 for 2 on these One Bad Day books so far, but I'll keep going because I like the pain.
I can't do it. I was waiting to see the reveal because I'm like, I can't just read these for nothing.
It's so far, no, it's not. I think for the most part, what it's going to be is I'll bet you when this is over and done with, I'll enjoy the Clayface one and I'll hate the other ones. But Mike, that was everything I read this week. So where could people find you on the internet?
They can find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you and or the show?
You can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter, and you can find the show at Fortress Comics _ on Twitter, as well as FortressComicNews.com. Remember, everybody, to give us the reviews on whatever podcatcher you use, whether it's iTunes, Apple, iTunes, Google Play, or whatever else you use, to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below in the YouTube version of this. And if you want to go the extra mile to support us, you can go to Patreon at patreon.com/Fortress Comics. So thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you all here next week.
See ya.